Join me as we learn more about the forces that shape politics and make politicians come to power and stay in power. How one person can change the entire course of history and our lives. I'm Tony Abad. This is Political Capital. He kept his name unstained and tried to live up to a legacy his father started. Then came the controversy that rocked him and the name he carries. But Congressman Ruffy Biazon is more than just a headline or a topic to be discussed. What he does to hear the public out speaks of his determination to go to greater lengths to achieve the greater good. How far is he willing to take this ride?
Hello.
Congressman, hello. Ganda ng motor mo ah.
Just a scooter and it gets me around.
Congressman Ruffy Biazon, thank you so much for joining us on Political Capital.
Well, thank you for having me. Okay naman.
So we were talking about your bike, no? You said, sabi mo, it's just a scooter.
Yeah.
But everyone knows Vespa is not just a scooter. But I know it's a passion. On top of being a hobby, it's also a passion for you.
Actually, pagka mag-ride ka kasi, you feel the freedom. No? Hindi yung naka-cover ka sa isang kotse.
Yes.
You feel the wind in your face, tapos yung sounds of and the sights, of course. Kaya nagiging passion din nga.
And I understand this is your horse or this is your stallion when you go around your district.
Yeah, pagka nag-iikot, pero ginagawa ko to incognito. Kunyari on a weekend, on a Sunday, iikutin ko without people letting
That's right, because you were wearing your helmet,
people know, no?
People won't really know.
And then I also have some friends who are into riding. So pagka nagkakayayaan, yan, sumasama ako sa kanila.
Now, aside from this one and politics, ano pang mga interests nyo?
Well, ang talagang passion ko, more than this,
Yes.
is scuba diving.
Oh, scuba diving. We're on the same page there.
Ayun.
I enjoy.
So I know, you know how it feels, no? Pag
Yes,
nasa ilalim
that's
ng dagat.
another world.
Actually, yun, nadadala ko rin sa trabaho.
Okay.
Kasi part of my legislative agenda really is environment.
Okay. Well,
So that's where I take it from.
That's the best place. Now, I wanted to, start off, of course, by not talking about not just yourself, but really the Biazon legacy. How was it growing up with the first Biazon politician, which is your father?
Actually, people have this perception, no, na dahil siya isang retired general, mahigpit. Actually, at home, siya? He lets us make our own decision.
Yes.
Meron lang kaming routine nung lumalaki kami, pero hindi kasing higpit nung may imagine mo coming from a general.
Yes.
No? Pero ang talagang na-impart niya sa amin is yung decision making. And I think, siyempre, sa kanya naman, ang training nila as military men, as soldiers, is decision making is crucial. So yun ang pinasa niya sa amin.
Not making the decisions for you, but how to make a decision.
Yes, for us, how to make a decision for ourselves. No? Isang example ko lang, yung sa older brother ko.
Yeah.
My older brother took the PMA entrance exam, physical and the entrance exam. No? Pumasa naman siya. Nung paakyat na lang siya, magre-report na lang, kinausap ng dad ko. And then, after ng talk nila, nagbago isip ng brother ko. Kasi pala, my brother was thinking na gusto ng dad ko may kasunod. And then my dad enlightened him na kung bakit siya pumasok, ano ang buhay doon, and that he has options.
Yes.
You know, that my dad is offering him options. Hindi, my dad was not expecting him na sumunod ka sa akin.
In the end, you're the one who sort of followed in the footsteps, no?
Ganun na nga yun. Although by accident, kasi when I was growing up, I really wanted to become a doctor.
Okay.
Pero nung pumasok siya sa politika, it was at that time that I just finished yung college.
Yes.
Sabi niya, tulungan mo naman ako sa kampanya. Tumulong ako sa kampanya. Tapos nung nanalo,
Yeah.
sabi niya, tulungan mo naman muna ako mag-set up ng office. Sabi niya gano'n. We set it up as I was his chief of staff. Nagkaroon din ako ng sense of fulfillment dun sa job. No? Public service. After all, parang yung pinanggagalingan din ng dream ko to be a doctor is really moving with the public, di ba? So, nakakuha ko ng fulfillment, so I stayed. Naging politician na ako. In the family, there are only 3 of us na magkakapatid. At that time, my brother was already abroad. Tapos yung sister ko naman was a flight attendant in Philippine Airlines. So, ang talagang available lang ng tumulong kay dad ko noon was ako lang.
But at
Pero
the same
yun nga,
time,
I got bitten by the political bug. Sabi.
So you were supposed to go on to med proper, but you put that off.
Tinuloy.
Okay. Do you ever look back and yearn for that sort of other track?
You should always have a vision, but don't be trapped by an ambition. Sabi niya kasi yung ambition really is just yung personal mo lang eh.
Yes.
Having a vision, sabi niya, is it's more of objectives and fulfillment. So kaya nga nung yung sabi nga yung basis nung dream ko or wish to become a doctor was to help people.
Yes.
But here in politics, you are helping people.
Yes.
Diba? Kaya yung sense of fulfillment ko na rin at that time, made me stay on.
Now I notice you and your father are very different. I mean, when
Exactly.
when you're looking at Senator Biazon and Congressman Biazon, parang iba yung your father, of course, gives you that sort of military cut and brand and style. No? Yours is a very different style, which is probably more of the, I'm one of you, sort of somebody who's part of your community.
Having been in the military, the organization molded him into what he is. And he can get away with it kasi yun yung brand na nakita ng tao. Like for example, in one of his campaigns before, I think it was 1995, the campaign, isa dun sa mga kasama niyang candidate was an artista. So, syempre, yung mga crowd, excited, ganyan. Yes. Then when it was his turn to speak, nung dad ko, yung attention ng crowd was still
on the artista.
The artista, no? So, nagalit siya on stage during that political rally. And sinabi niya sa kanila, kung ayaw niyo makinig, magsiuwi na kayo, ginanon niya. I mean, the typical politician wouldn't do that.
Yes.
Di ba? And siguro, if a typical politician did that, walk out ang mga tao. But sa kanya, hindi. Kasi that was his brand. Yes. Disciplinarian, strict, di ba? Ako, iba naman ang approach ko pagka ganon.
People were looking for that, I think, at that time. So that's how they gravitated to your father.
Kasi yung yung pagkakakilala sa kanya ng mga tao noon was brought about by the 1989 coup, wherein he played a prominent role. No? Kaya nga, yun talaga image niya. So, sa akin, may sarili rin naman nga akong image. I'm the type na, I'm close to the people. No?
Yes.
People would tend to hug me. Sabi nga kasi, cuddly daw ako. Yung mga ganon. So, magkaibang style, but we come from the same point of view. Yun naman.
Well, discussions about dynasty and all that we tend to generalize about it. But actually, when you see different generations have different ways of defining themselves. How would you describe your own Ruffy Biazon brand? No? If you were to summarize.
To summarize, I would say I'm parang it sounds self-serving, no? Pero kasi ako I'm more down to earth, meaning to say na I don't let the position get into the way of how I am. No? I don't let it influence me. Meron kasing iba siguro, masabi natin, no, na just because napunta na sa position, the title puts their mindset in a different level. No? I look at myself as just doing a job just like any other Tom, Dick, and Harry. No? So I'm no different than them. Yun ang mentality ko. Kaya I think that's one thing that makes it easier for me to relate with my constituents.
I think, yeah, it's that approachability, and soft. Well, we're going to take a break, no, Congressman. When we come back, a scion to a great political legacy and a man of his own person. How has Congressman Ruffy Biazon used his political capital to serve the people? This is Political Capital. Please stay tuned. And we're back. Still with us, Congressman Ruffy Biazon. Congressman, what is the most significant thing you did that built your political capital?
I wouldn't say na merong one single thing that I did, no, but it was in a way a series of things.
Okay.
My entry into politics started with consultations that I did along the railroad tracks of Muntinlupa.
Okay.
I was fortunate that at that time my father was the chair of the Committee on Housing in the Senate.
Yes.
So I was very familiar with housing issues. And one of the major challenges of the city at that time were the informal settlers all along the railroad tracks of Muntinlupa. Out of our 9 barangays, 8 had the railroad was passing through 8 barangays out of 9. So they needed to be relocated. So what I did was do community consultation and dialogues in preparation for that major relocation program of the government. So that's how I got to engage with people. I would say that's one thing which given the people the confidence and trust in me, so that when the time came na nung sinabi ko na I will be running for office, nakita na nila na I can be a representative. So I think that was the start of my political career here in Muntinlupa. And I was up against the incumbent at that time. It was former press secretary, congressman, mayor, Toting.
Pong Toting, okay.
So it was an uphill challenge kasi ano siya, 3-term mayor, incumbent congressman at that time, and talagang well-known in Muntinlupa. He is a native of Muntinlupa.
Yes. So hindi kayo native?
Because I grew up in Fort Bonifacio kasi yung father ko was in the military at that time. My parents' roots are in Ilocos region.
Yes.
So as far as Muntinlupa was concerned, I was a migrant.
Now I wanted to ask you, as you're a sitting congressman, what would you say is the one problem that still persists in Muntinlupa that you'd like to solve?
In Muntinlupa, actually it's employment. It's still difficult to meet that.
Trying to bring in investment.
One is to bring in investment, and the other is to meet the needs of those coming in. We have a growing population, but the job availability for qualified personnel is still big. So kumukuha pa rin sa ibang lugar yung mga employers dito. We want to address that. Kaya ang drive namin, not just to develop them to be employees, but even to develop them as entrepreneurs. Kasi that's the other option for them. Ang objective naman talaga natin is to have people who are self-reliant and productive.
But now, as a sitting congressman, you're also a legislator. What's on your plate for, I guess, for laws that need to be passed?
Well, I'm basically focused on some agendas. One is national security. So that's always been my focus in Congress, like pushing for the amendment of the National Defense Act. It's a 1935 law, which is the foundation of our defense structure.
Okay.
So we really need to upgrade it.
Would that radically change the way we're approaching defense?
It would, because 1935 we had a different environment,
Yes.
and we 2020 we have new challenges. So that's an example. Another would be the development of our security plan with regard to our eastern seaboard. We've always talked about the West Philippine Sea,
Yes.
which is west of the Philippines, but actually the eastern seaboard is wide open.
Our
we
East
really
Philippine
have to
Sea.
develop that. Yeah, so I had 3 bills filed to develop that. And then I also have an agenda in environment. As I mentioned, being an avid scuba diver, I draw upon my passion of protecting the ocean into the environment agenda. The health of the ocean is directly connected to climate change.
Yes.
So the severe weather changes in weather, severe weather, which also has an impact on the lives of Filipinos because we are a country which is very prone to typhoons. So konektado siya.
Yeah, temperature increase actually will affect life under sea.
Yes.
And then
When coral bleaching happens, the oceans get warmer, and when the oceans get warmer, the climate changes.
yes, and then the sea levels go up.
Sea levels go up. And again, transportation is one of those agendas that I focus on. Public transportation.
In the Philippines, we're not surprised about how people tend to change parties. No, you were with the LDP a long time ago.
My first party was LDP, together with my dad. When he became senator in 1992, he was LDP.
Yes.
We were both LDP until 2004, from 1992 to 2004. There was an internal struggle in the party, and the party broke up. So we chose to join a party which was close to the ideology that was being espoused in the LDP. So it was the Liberal Party, the LP. After all, the LDP actually was born out of the Liberal Party.
That's right.
Yeah. So we transferred to the LP in 2004.
And then you ran for senator under
In
the Liberal
2010,
Party.
yes, under the Liberal Party. Because we were members of the Liberal Party at that time, and when they drew up the Senate slate, I was one of those who were picked to be a part of it.
But
Currently, I'm with the PDP.
so you've shifted to PDP Laban.
Yes. Again, it has roots.
Yes.
They're all cousins.
And they're ideologically sort of related.
Yes, related.
Despite these relationships, no, from one party to another, but still, nonetheless, there are changes of party. How has it affected your own view, your own experience as a politician?
Of course, there has to be some adjustments that I have to make. One thing that remains the same is that I can make a stand that is different from what my party stands for. Many times I've done that. The vote that I have in Congress may not be the vote that the party wants.
Okay.
Well, that's another thing that I picked up from my dad. Kasi ganun siya eh.
Make your own decision.
Kumbaga, I forgot na who said it, but loyalty to the party ends where loyalty to the country begins. It's basically that.
But it says something about our party system, I think, that it still needs to be strengthened, no?
It needs to be strengthened, but it's on both sides here, both on the side of the politicians and the electorate. We need to level up how we think about politics. As of now, it's mostly personality-oriented.
Yes, that's right.
Instead of principle or platform-oriented.
Congressman, before we go to our next break, I'm going to leave a hanging question. You don't have to answer this now. Given your experience, no, in dealing with different parties, can politicians from opposing parties actually gear towards the same goal? And I think seem to be a person who is into consensus building. So, but we'll leave it at that. When we return, changing roles, changing parties, and the will to uphold one's principle. But where then do politicians fear to tread? You're watching Political Capital. Please stay tuned. You're still with Political Capital, and we're down to the last few questions for Congressman Ruffy Biazon. Can I ask your thoughts on specific issues that maybe interest you particularly? One is traffic and transportation.
Well, I'm a believer really in public transportation. I long to see the day when I can go to Congress without having to bring my car.
Within our lifetime, no, you'll be able to see a day when you can go to the train station here
Yes.
and then make your way to Batasan.
Yes, I think we can see it happen with the things that are going on now.
Because whenever I travel, I prefer, that's the mode of transport I prefer.
Yes, because you know, Metro Manila is already choking. Kami dito sa Muntinlupa, we feel it. No? Kuminsan that's why we become isolated.
That's right.
There's a joke going around nga ngayon. Sabi nga, yung mga kaibigan daw namin na tagalabas ng South, kaming mga taga-South daw, next year na lang daw kami mag-Christmas party. Kasi mahirap daw pumunta dito. No? So it's becoming that. The solution really isn't to add more roads because adding more roads will just add more cars.
Right.
So talaga ang direction dapat, which I've been supporting, is going to the development of more options for public transportation. From the innovative angkas, Grab, of course, P2P, MRT, PNR, etc. And sa akin kasi, well, I grew up naman commuting using public transportation. And even nung earlier days ko pa as congressman, I would take the MRT going to Batasan. Up to now, I do that. Except that now, there are more options. Sinusubukan ko lahat.
So, angkas is okay, of course.
Actually, I filed the bill. Yeah, I filed the bill legalizing motorcycles for hire. Kasi right now, it's not allowed under the law. We see it as an option, so it's an innovation that people are able to choose.
Now, another interesting issue is about this vape regulation. No? Where do you stand on that?
Well, I filed the bill, pushing for the regulation of vapes. That was back in the 17th Congress. And it was just basically based on my belief that anything that we ingest into our bodies, unless it has been thoroughly studied, there's a potential for harm.
Right.
And we're talking about health.
Yes.
So my push was for it to be regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. Yes. And eventually, just recently in the United States, there have been some studies showing that there's a big possibility that it's related to certain deaths that have happened in the United States.
Now, you were appointed Commissioner of Customs.
The toughest job in Philippine government because I was asking for a different position and the President offered me that position. My dad advised me, sabi niya, baka masira ka lang dyan eh. Sabi niya gano'n. Sabi ko naman, well, how can I say no to a president who's recruiting me to join him in that capacity? Sabi niya, yeah, sige, you can take it as a challenge. But when I was there, nakita ko rin yung magnitude ng problem.
Yes.
I had my ideas on how to solve it, but it was really difficult. It was difficult. You don't know kung sinong kalaban, sinong kakampi, kung sino ba yung maaasahan mo, sino yung hindi. There's a lot of backstabbing. Kung sinabi nila na snake pit ang Malacanang, more so the customs.
I'm sure your dad was thinking, as a military guy, ang kalaban nasa labas.
Yes, siya, at saka maliwanag sa kanya kung sino ang kalaban. But I was just focused on one simple thing that I believe would be the solution to the problem, which is automation. Reducing the number of human interventions in the entire process. It turned out that it wasn't that simple.
That's right. It's like, why would they want you to reduce?
There are those who will move heaven and earth to oppose and put down any kind of reform that will be done there. If you can take a look at the roster of commissioners, there are very few. I think you can only count them with 3 fingers who stayed. 3 fingers, hindi lang one hand. 3 fingers who stayed for the duration of, for example, of the president who appointed them. Mostly, ang pinakamatagal is 2 years. There are some have stayed just months. Kasi ganun eh, pagka meron ka nang gagawin na siguro makakaapekto sa mga nakikinabang sa kalakaran, babanggain ka, they'll try to put you down. So it's really difficult.
The ideal is that you are the change agent, but that means you're telling everyone there your way of life is going to change. So it's challenging. But Congressman, you finally decided you chose to resign. No? What made you do that at that particular time?
Well, there were issues that were raised against me which was not related to customs. I won't go into the detail, but I felt that it was going to affect the president. Kasi pagka sinabi ko na, kasi most appointed people say, I serve at the pleasure of the president. Diba? Ako, I have a different point of view. Aside from the president, I also serve the public. So if the public does not have trust and confidence in me, in my position there, even if I am a presidential appointee, even if the president tells me, no, okay ka lang, stay ka, may kumpiyansa ako sa'yo. If the public does not believe that I should be there, I would go out. Sabi ko, there comes a point when you have to let go, lalo na kung maapektuhan na not just myself, but even my family. So I let go.
Few will do that actually if they, if they've gotten used to that position or that power. Now, takes us to our final question, the one that I asked earlier, and relates to what I perceive to be a role that you could play as a consensus builder, a person who's very agreeable but at the same time principled. No? Can politicians from opposing parties actually gear towards a common goal?
Yes, I've seen it happen.
Doable?
Yeah, it's doable. I've seen it happen. Congressmen or politicians crossing party lines. Okay. Although it has not yet come to a point where it's a contentious issue. I mean, it's a very heavy issue.
Yes.
But I've seen it happen, that opposing sides come to an agreement.
But nowadays, you look at these tweets and posts from these different groups, and they're like,
One thing that I avoid, or the one thing that I do really is to carefully choose the words that I use. Because I know words matter.
Yes.
And sometimes an agreement can be arrived at, or it can break down just based on the words. So, even if I'm opposed to an idea, I always try to frame it in such a way that it's not attacking the person, it's not putting the person's idea down, but really relying on the strength of my own argument, where I use diplomatic language. Okay. So that's how I am. So I think there still comes a time na politicians could agree.
Maybe you can be a diplomat as well, but who knows? Congressman, thank you so much. I think we've taken away some important lessons for the students of politics. I think they should actually come and seek your advice at times. No? But I myself have some things to reflect on after having listened to you and your style, no? The Ruffy Biazon brand. So thank you very much for taking time out to be with us today. The era of the tough guy leader made us look at politicians as serious, stiff, and unwavering. But there's a class of politicians we don't always see. The consensus builder, the approachable, the empathic, the diplomatic, and the quiet worker. This is the kind of leader we see in Ruffy Biazon. This has been Political Capital. I'm Tony Abad. We'll see you again.